Hello everyone and welcome to Bad Wolf TV. This is Tech Tuesday and I'm your host Kim Schofield. Today we are continuing our 6-part series on online privacy, safety, and security. We are looking at common internet scams known as phishing scams. So phishing scam is a scam where cyber criminals try to get sensitive personal information or data such as usernames, passwords, banking details, that sort of thing. And generally they do this by impersonating a trustworthy person, organization, colleague, friend, and phishing plays on our emotions of trust, honesty, and our confidence in our knowledge of our own environment and what's real and what's trustworthy. So I'm first going to put up a list of these sessions so we can see where we are. So first week we had an introduction to this topic and an understanding of why it's important to be aware of phishing and what we can do about it. Then last week we talked about spearfishing. Spearfishing is where an individual attack is launched. So this is an attack directed at a particular person rather than blasted out to millions of people. This can be disguised as a job offer, a sales order, urgent requests from family, employers, clients, friends, things like that. This week we are going to talk about phishing in general. There's so many different ways that phishing can be done, and we want to talk about those and that tool that scammers use, which is emotion. It's a huge tool for them. So that's what we're going to do this week. Week 4, we will look at the first 3 of a list called the Top 6 Scams. It's a Wiser training list, and it's going to be posted at the end of this presentation so you can see what it is. Week 5, we will look at numbers 4 to 6 on that list. And week 6, we will look at a contingency plan for what if this happens to you, and go over our plans for a phishing game, which you will all be invited to participate in if you wish. So in the weeks after this series, we will follow up with live online sessions and a discussion thread in our Bad Wolf community group called Everything Tech, where we will be discussing our experiences with the random phishing emails in this phishing game, and we will be expanding our phishing detection toolbox. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Each week, we also integrate a tech tool or solution or tech survival skill into the webinar. And this week's topic is actually centered on 5 short videos. So I decided to switch the video of me talking for these 5 presentations and really make good use of the tech tool that I'm using right now, which is called ManyCam. It's a video platform. You can use, of course, any video platform that you like, from Zoom on up and down. So let's take a look at what ManyCam can do and watch our videos. I'm going to switch to a very nice video type screen. And we are going to start with a video called the Spearfishing. So this is the video we watched in the very first seminar, and it's only a minute and a half long, and I think it's important to watch it again today and set the tone for what we're going to see afterwards. So here we go.
I know you. Yes, you. You're a sales guy, and I know where you work because I found you on LinkedIn. I also know who your customers are because I read your customer testimonials. I bet if I send you an email from one of them at the end of the quarter and attached a purchase order, you won't be able to resist opening it. This will help with the trip I saw you were planning on Facebook. Hey, you may even forward it to your VP of Sales and Finance. All I need to do is hide malware in the attached file to attack your company. Nasty, right? That's a spear phishing attack. The more I know about you, the easier it is to fool you. So what can you do? Look for signs, like does the style of the email feel different from previous emails you received from that particular person? Are you expecting this email? Does it cause you angst, stress, euphoria, happiness, or any other emotion that makes you want to do something? Checking for any spelling mistakes in the sender address is a must. However, that by itself is not enough, because there are ways to spoof an email address to make it look identical to the real one. So make it a habit to take a few moments, let the emotions settle down, and call the sender to verify if they actually sent the email.
Right, so that's the very first very first video. And now we are going to move on to the next video, which is called How Does That Make You Feel? So this one is about phishing in general, and we'll just let it speak for itself.
Phishing attacks won't come from someone called scammer. They will come from criminals impersonating someone you know or trust. Some are really sneaky. Like, if you're a lawyer, it could be an email from a client with an urgent attachment, or a Valentine's Day e-card from a secret admirer. The craftiest criminals know people act by how they feel, not necessarily by what they know. That is why they try to manipulate your emotions. So if you're excited about a once-in-a-lifetime offer, or you're frustrated with your computer and decide to download a free fix, don't let emotions fog your judgment. This is exactly what criminals prey on. Make it a habit to ask yourself, how does this make me feel? If it's anything other than normal, especially if it's coming from someone you know, or a pop-up that doesn't go away, then wait a few minutes before clicking or responding. Don't let the emotions dictate your actions. Use a known number to call and verify, and it's always good to consult with someone you trust.
Okay, so from there, we are going to move on to a series of 3 videos that are done by Gabriel Friedlander, who is the founder of Wiser Training. And these 3 videos, I think you will find them hugely interesting and really informative. So let's listen to Gabriel.
This is a story about how a colleague of mine was almost scammed out of $20,000. He lives in Israel, that's how I know him. And his company has offices in Israel and in the US. He is the founder of the startup, he's also the CTO, and his business partner is the CEO, and he is located in the US. This is a very typical company structure for Israeli companies. One day, the CFO received an urgent email from the CEO asking to transfer $20,000 to a vendor they work with. The from email address looked legit, so she went ahead and she prepared the transaction, but the bank requires 2 signatures. So she responded to the email and copied my friend asking him to approve the transaction. He told me that he got a notification on his phone. He took a quick look, went back to sleep. It was 3 a.m. in the morning. He also told me that he usually automatically approves transactions requested by the CEO, especially if they're not a huge amount. The next day, the CFO met the CEO in the hallway and mentioned that she's waiting for my friend to approve the transaction. That's when they realized that my friend saved the day by being lazy. Anyways, after he told me this story, they strengthened their processes. They made sure that, first of all vendors are registered on the system, and they call and verify any request to change bank account information or if a transaction doesn't follow a specific process. I have many stories like this that I will share with you. Don't think that my friends are careless. This type of scams, unfortunately, can happen to anyone.
Right, and here is Gabriel with the second video.
Here is a story that you will probably not read on the news, but can really happen to anyone. A friend of mine received a phone call from AT&T's fraud division. They warned him about a suspicious transaction. Looks like somebody's trying to order 2 iPhones and send them to a different address. They offered to cancel the transaction, but in order to verify his identity, They asked him to read back a code they're going to text him. They also asked him not to log into his account for 2 days until all of this is resolved. This was a scam. What actually happened was that they hit reset password on the official AT&T website and selected the text message verification option. Because the text message was sent to my friend, they needed him to read it back to them. Once he read the code back to them, they were able to reset the password, lock him out of his account, and purchase 2 new iPhones. A few days later, he received an email from AT&T about a possible fraud and that 2 iPhones were purchased and were sent to a different address. It all made sense. After all, the scammers told them that they were going to do this. Crazy, right? So he tried to log in to an AT&T account just to make sure that everything is fine, but he couldn't because his password was changed. That is when he realized that he was scammed. Even though he had 2-factor authentication, they were able to fool him using social engineering. Look, technology adds layers of security, but it can't always protect you. So no matter what, if you get an unexpected phone call, never give any personal information. There's no time bomb ticking, and if you're unsure, just hang up the phone, obtain the official phone number from the official website, and call back. I was hanging out with my kid yesterday, and my wife walked in. She had her phone on speaker, and her friend said, "Gabby, I think I got hacked." I said, "Okay, tell me what happened." Now, before I start, I want to point out that she's a very educated person. She's skeptical and she's not really technical. So her kid is in, let's call it, an after-school program. And they sent the kid a link to download a YouTube video. So she visited this website and she told me that it looked really sketchy, with all these pop-ups. But hey, they told her to, do it from this website, so she just went ahead and did it. She was about to download the YouTube video, but she was prompted to first download Adobe Flash. Her kid said it's totally fine. Well, it wasn't, but we'll get to that later. So they installed Flash and downloaded the video. So far, so good. Later that day, she went back to her computer and she saw a notification from Apple that her computer has a virus. "I knew it," she said. "I would have never trusted a website like that." The notification also had an Apple technical support phone number. So she picked up the phone, she called them right away, they answered and offered to help her. They tried to explain to her what to do, however, she said she's not really technical, so they offered to remotely connect. She followed their directions, she installed an app that they told her to install, which allowed them to remotely connect to her computer. Once they connected, they told her that they found the issue and it will cost her about $300 to fix it. She was about to pay, but she felt something is a little bit off, so she said she will call them back later, and that's when she called me. She said she will never do something like this if someone was to call her, but she called them, and the website link that was sent to her was sent by somebody she trusts. Besides the so-called Flash, which prompted her to call this number, I don't know what else she installed on her computer, so we decided to just reinstall the entire computer. I'm really happy that my kid stayed and listened to this call. It was a great lesson for him. Actually, there are so many lessons learned from this. First, this can really happen to anyone, including your coworkers. I'm sure you can think about someone that this can happen to. It really depends on the circumstances. Even if your kids are more technical than you, it doesn't really mean they know better. And lastly, if it doesn't feel right, then just stop, let the emotion settle down, maybe call a friend or even better, your IT guy at work. Just don't be rushed into doing anything.
All right, so those were amazing videos, and now let's start with those takeaways that we talked about at the beginning. So what we have are some very common scams. These are various versions of phishing scams. And what they prey on mostly, the best toolkit, is emotion. That is the best toolkit that the scammer has, and we need to be very aware of that. Also, free is not equivalent to safe. A link or an attachment is as useful to an online scammer as your bank info, so please be careful what you click and what you download and look at. Next, passwords. Please be careful with your passwords. No family names, pet names, birthdays, anything else that can identify you, and please be careful equally on social media with what you share and how you share it, and how that may come back to you in certain emails and phone calls. Stay vigilant. We need to stay safe and stay vigilant. So and I got ahead of myself there. This one is check everything. Verify things with phone calls and direct account access. Go out of the email that you're in, go back to the internet if you need to get a phone call, or go back to your contact list and verify. Talk to someone if it looks fishy, if it looks really not right. And then, overall, please stay safe and stay vigilant. Next week, we will talk about 3 of the top scams that are out there. And I'm going to just trade Mr. Bean for a picture of these scams. Where we go? There it is. So these are the 6 scams we will be looking at, and next week we will look at fake tech support, gift card scams, and scams that target the elderly. And lastly, we will see you next week. Thank you very much for being here on Tech Tuesday.